remember when many months ago I gave you all a report how pissed off the Big Ten was at everybody, but especially at the Southeastern Conference. Do you remember when I gave the Big Ten, it was DEFCON 1, and they are at war? And of course, the Southeastern Conference has not been happy with what's been going on. Do you remember all those reports that I put out there? I mean, I used the word DEFCON 1. I said all this stuff, correct? Give me a yes if I said this. Give me a no if I did not say this. I put this out there months ago. We've been following the story of college football, peek around the corner. But you know, when I was saying all this stuff, if you're going to mess with the bull, you're going to get the horns. Of course, as we were reporting all this, we got dragged over the coals. We were called a grifter. We were gaslighting, whatever that means. Former PATC family members who we gave a lot of time to freely for them to express their opinions had to go after me. They had to go after me because they disagreed with me. And it's okay to disagree with me, but they couldn't just disagree with me. They had to call me a grifter. They basically were calling me out for giving bad information about what was going on between the SEC and the Big Ten and the Big Ten and everybody else, because they believed that this new governance, the Power Four conferences having 65% of the governance, that it was kumbaya, that, oh, Greg is just getting everybody all upset. Greg doesn't know what he's talking about. Greg is intentionally leading people astray. Bite me. Absolutely bite me. Because college football's peek around the corner. The chatter behind the curtain, it's a war out there. No, there is no kumbaya. We've been saying this over and over and over and over again. Now, there is agreement. There is agreement. I mean, some people over here agree with some people over there. We should have a 16-team playoff, 24-team playoff. There are people in the SEC that want a 24. There's people in the Big 12 and the ACC that want a 20. There's cross-pollination. But the Southeastern Conference is all fed up. The Big Ten is all fed up. And they're fed up with each other. They're completely fed up with each other. And I'm not gaslighting, you morons. I am not gaslighting. I'm not out there. I wish it was different, but it ain't. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but somebody's got to do it. Somebody has to do it. I am, first of all, I am the first casualty because I had to eat a cheeseburger. Because the information coming out of those advisory groups told to me that it was a fait accompli. So I reported that. And I was wrong, and I had to eat a cheeseburger. That almost killed me live. I was the first casualty. But there's going to be many, many, many other casualties after all this is said and done. The Southeastern Conference doesn't trust anything, anybody. The Big Ten does not trust the Southeastern Conference. And the Big 12 and the ACC, they're desperately trying to hold this thing together. In public, they have to be for the SEC, but in private, they really, 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 really want what the Big Ten is trying to cook up. Ross Dellinger's just put out an article. Just released an article that sums it all up. It sums it all up. So for those who've been trying to drag PATC over the coals once again because somehow, some way, you got to throw hate our way. Those that have been saying, Greg, this is all at play. This is all an act. It's kumbaya, the governance. Don't you understand the Hey, Greg, why aren't you talking about this governance thing? And then send me DMs and use foul language at me because I ain't covering what you want to cover, you bozo. Because I've been telling you the truth. If I would, and I'm not going to be able to do this, but if I could show you some of the emails that I have received from B. Tim and his associates, the Big Ten They believe they got absolutely shafted by the Southeastern Conference. And the Southeastern Conference thinks they're getting shafted by everybody. And that has been going on for months. So we're going to go through this Ross Dellinger's article. But if you still believe out there that everything's okay because of the 65% governance, and if this is all a play, and we're going to go into conference tournaments, and then we're going to have 4 teams in the playoff, a champion of the SEC, the champion of the Big Ten, the champion of the... If you still believe all your... Be nice. Be nice, Greg. Be nice. There is a major fracture within college football. Hell, there's a fracture in the Big Ten. Let's do the roll call here. But before I even get to the roll call, the Big Ten is looking out, as Ross Dellinger put it in his article, the Big Ten is looking out for its self-interest. And the SEC is looking out for their self-interest. And the Southeastern Conference is going this way. And the Big Ten is going that way. But both pathways, even though they're different, leads to the same spot. And that is more power, more money, more governance, and a bigger conference. That's where it's leading. And it's going to have major implications throughout college sports, college football. But the Big Ten and the SEC, as we have been reporting, they're not closer than ever. They're farther away than ever. Espitox is in the house. DT's is here. John Dry, Deadeye, Lee Go Gators, Rich Austin, Stephen Vitt, the other Gygax, Tom DeBay, RT, Smile Time, Marcus Williams, Larry Andrick. Thank you, Larry. Appreciate it. Hope you're having a good day, too. Kay Struthers, Expansion Crush. Anthony Mazzano is in the house. Rich Austin, Dex Turk is here. The Big Ten is definitely expanding. Yeah. Yep. Because they think it's in their self-interest. They know the Southeastern Conference is going to expand. Eventually. And the Southeastern Conference is going to expand, but they're taking a different pathway. Potentially, they're taking a preliminary steps to break away. And those preliminary steps could be sped up here in a very short time from now. Rod is in the house. BYU football is here. Humble Bumble Duck. Leslie Hill is in the house. Bimba 75, 79. Observer is here. John Dry. Jose Buckeye Greg. Expansion Crush again. Bob Swanger is in the house. Mr. Monkey says. Old Dad is here. Rod Nix. Lorenzo Haynes. Steven McNeely. Mountaineer Memes. The Big Ten ain't getting anything. Mountaineer Memes is starting off hot. Okay. Josh Peters, thanks for coming on in. I just really dislike the 2014 format. I think the 16 expansion is final, but obviously to each his own. Okay, let's get to... By the way, thank you all for joining us. If you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel. Ring that notification bell. Ring that notification bell. Smash the like button if you like our content. If you want to support this Rebel Outpost with a donation, hit the $ where you make a comment, and I'll get to your Super Chat as quick as I possibly can. And of course, Super Chat supersedes the other comments. We'll get to your phone calls as soon as possible. Ross Dellinger. It's an embarrassment for the sport. Southeastern Conference, Big Ten, still at odds over future format of the college football playoff. We're going to go through this article. I am going to give you my comments on the article, and then we're going to go straight to your phone calls. Miami Beach, Florida. Only 11 months ago, from a high rise in New Orleans, athletic directors from the SEC and the Big Ten, they huddled in a room for the latest installment of a joint effort, an alliance, some might call it, with an express mission to find solutions to what ails college athletics. In fact, the SEC and the Big Ten partnership was serious enough that the two commissioners, Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti, held a joint news conference after that meeting. The second such gathering following the creation of the alliance in February 2024. In announcing their league marriage, commissioners described the partnership as a meaningful step to fix things, a common sense solution to a much brighter horizon. On Sunday, from a luxury hotel in South Beach, as FBS conference leaders met, darkness remains on the horizon. Disagreements rage. Divide exists. The two wealthiest conferences in college athletics, just months ago, locked into what appeared to be a long-term relationship for the betterment of the industry, have seen their relationship fade. No more joint meetings, shared ideals, or future plans. It's happened again. The Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten. Just like under Jim Delaney, just like under Kevin Warren, the Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten seem to be on a path towards divorce. The latest bickering fight playing out here on a rare gloomy day on Miami Beach during the annual meetings of the college football playoff leaders, the FBS commissioners, and Notre Dame's athletic director. Hey, Notre Dame, I gotta say something. Notre Dame. I'm gonna be honest with you. I got everybody in the Big Ten, everybody in the Southeastern Conference, the Big 12, and the ACC mad at me at least once, twice, 3 times a lady a month. But Notre Dame, this is your worst case scenario. All of what is going on right now, it is Notre Dame's fighting-itis worst case scenario. Because as Jack Swarbrick said in May of 2022, those two solar systems of the SEC and the Big Ten, and everybody's going to have to select which solar system they flow around. Well, guess what, Jack Swarbrick? Not that you're the athletic director anymore, but Pavakwa. We are closer than ever to this two solar system splitting apart. Notre Dame's Southeastern Conference protection might go bye-bye. Back to the article. The storm outside was emblematic of one raging within the walls of the Lowe's Hotel. Two conferences suddenly they can't agree on much. The college football calendar, the playoff, the level of enforcement over athletic compensation, private equity inclusion. They don't agree on anything. They don't. They really never have, but now it's way out in the open. Remember, the NCAA no longer really kind of exists when it comes to college football. The courts have sort of directed everybody that the conferences are going to be the power. I hope that one of these ding-dongs out there on X on the message boards who have been lecturing everybody about me, gaslighting the college football fan, because I've been telling you this is what's been going on. I hope one of them has the dignity, the grace, the testicular fortitude to come out and say, my bad, I got it wrong. But we're not going to hold our breaths. This war has been a brewing for months. And here at College Football Peek Around the Corner, we've only been telling you the truth. We are guilty of that. Back to the article. During a 3-hour meeting Sunday among Power Conference's executives, they failed to reach an agreement on expanding the 12-team playoff. Each dug into its current position. The Southeastern Conference is in support of the 16-team field, and the Big Ten is back in a 24-team bracket. The leagues hold sole authority over any format decisions, a move granted to them in the spring of 24 by the 8 other FBS conferences. Now, look, of course there's some people in the Big Ten that would be okay with going a 16-team field for the next 4 or 5 years. There are people in the Southeastern Conference that wants a larger playoff than 16. They've been out in the open. But as a conference position, the SEC is sticking with the 16-team field, and the Big Ten is back in the 24-team bracket. And we're going to go over why I think there is some cloak and dagger stuff going on. There is some misdirection, I believe. So we'll go over that in a second. A compromise proposal introduced more than a month ago would move the playoff to 16 teams for a set amount of years, perhaps 2, before an agreement to shift to 24. Officials have not reached an agreement on that concept and may not. The SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey and his presidents are against making any guarantees in this unpredictable environment of college athletics. How have the SEC and the Big Ten, compadres a few months ago, fallen so far apart? And as we reported in real time, we did not wait to January 18th. We've been giving you this for months. Why did it happen? Self-interest, says one person while exiting the CFP meeting room. The instability. This is the PATC. This whole paragraph, this whole next paragraph is PATC money shot number 1 of the article. The instability within college athletics. Little to no enforcement of an industry professionalizing before our eyes is at the heart of indecision and dysfunction within the playoff room. All of this is tethered together. These are competitive conferences, waging what are now high price recruiting bidding wars, battling one another on the field, and yet trying to work in tandem off it. A reason that the Southeastern Conference, the powerful, valuable, wealthy Southeastern Conference, is at least in the preliminary stages. At least, maybe beyond, probably beyond. The Southeastern Conference is at least in the preliminary stages of considering a conference-only governance model. All of that said, there remains faint hope that that a playoff agreement on expansion can still be reached by this Friday. A deadline set by ESPN for the implementation of any new format next season. And now this is the PATC. No, it's not quite yet. We're not quite there yet. Sunday was not deadline day, noted CFP Board of Managers Chair Mark Keenum, the Mississippi State President. Friday's deadline is the final extension that ESPN will give, according to CFP Executive Director Rich Clark. The playoff will remain at 12 teams if a compromise cannot be reached by then. Is an agreement really possible? Is an agreement really possible up until this Friday? That's up to two people in the room, the American Conference Commissioner Tim Pernetti said. They are negotiating. Keenum, the Mississippi State president, will see where it comes out. Still more work to do, Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti told reporters as he left the room. Outside of the Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten, what do the other conferences want? Most of them have voiced public support for a 16-team model with automatic qualifiers for each of the 4 power leagues, and the best non-power league conference champion plus 11 at-large selections. However, PATC money shot number 2 of the article. However, some of them privately are more than open to a discussion about the Big Ten's 24-team model, which includes 4 automatic qualifiers for each of the 4 power leagues, plus 2 group of 6 bids and 6 at-large selections. That's at least one of the many proposals discussed as it relates to a 24-team bracket. The Southeastern Conference and its presidents are against growing to that many programs. As such, a move impacts conference championship games, bowls, and regular season, and the calendar itself. In perhaps, this is money shot number 3 of the article. In perhaps an ominous comment, Keenum, Mississippi State's president, reminded reporters Sunday of the painstakingly slow process of the last expansion. It took 5 years for us to go from 4 to 12, Keenum said. I think the fact that we are having conversations is a good thing, but there's a lot of things to weigh on this. This is only year 2 of the new 12-team playoff. In fact, expansion conversations beyond 12 started even before the completion of the first 12-team field last year. Back then, the Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten got along, agreed on plenty, and even held joint meetings. Those days feel over. Those days feel over. A microcosm of the now year-long fracturing of the entire industry. It's an embarrassment for the sport, scoffed one college leader Sunday. In fact, while conference commissioners and their corresponding presidents met Sunday over playoff matters, a young child was heard crying down a hallway from the meeting room. Hey, one reporter playfully said upon hearing the child's wailing, the commissioners are arguing again. So, here we are. And I'm going to give you the latest chatter, although you guys know this. The PATC family knows this. You've all known this, right? We're not like, we're not like that one show out there that said that the Big Ten and the SEC are working together with Fox and ESPN, and this is an exclusive report that they're working on a Super League. The PATC family knows exactly what's going on. The Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten. Call it greed, call it self-interest, call it whatever you want. They don't trust each other. They don't like each other. That advisory group, the alliance, but the Big Ten and the SEC, that destroyed the relationship. It did. I mean, that was, the Big Ten believes they were done dirty. The Southeastern Conference believes they were misled. Nobody trusts anybody. And that is why the Southeastern Conference, I believe, is well beyond the preliminary concept, the outlines of a SEC competition-only conference, a silo, as it were. But I'm going to give you the lowdown of what's really causing all this mess. What is the straw that is steering the drink? And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be absolutely blunt as possible. Pacific Northwest Ute, more like the CSC. Thank you for the $2 holla. I appreciate the super chat. Look, I'm going to be blunt here. I'm not going to hold back. OBD Don, we got a beautiful super chat from OBD Don. Here is to some antacids after watching you almost die from that small microscopic cheeseburger. That was a double cheeseburger, I think. It was. You know what? I blocked it out. I absolutely blocked it out. But it wasn't small. There was a lot of cheese on that. I now see why the state of Minnesota, Loserville City, hasn't won anything since the dinosaur roamed the plains freely. But hats off to you, Mayor, the re-elected mayor of Loserville City. Thank you, OPD Don. Thank you for your monster super chat. Very much appreciate it, sir. Thank you, PNWU and OP, for helping us keep the lights on here. I appreciate it. So here's the thing. So when everybody started paying the players, right, the NIL, the rev share, all this agreement, when it had to come to the House settlement, you know, we here at Peek Around the Corner, during about midway through 2024, I spent a lot of time talking about how the third-party money was going to come into college sports, right? Private equity, public capital, whatever you want to call it, third-party money was coming in. The private equity invasion was coming on in. And then 2025, we have seen major attempts to get private equity money into college sports. The Big Ten, so far they have not been able to do it. I know that UC investment deal is dead, but they're still trying to get the for-profit entity built in the Big Ten. I think we're going to see some more reporting on that in the off season. No question, we're going to see more reporting on that. And you've seen the Big 12 make an attempt. You saw Utah, they're doing a private equity deal. You're going to see other schools do a private equity deal. One of the things that happened was the Southeastern Conference got out of its core. They spoke to experts. The Big Ten spoke to experts. The Big 12 did as well, and the ACC. But I'm mostly focusing on the Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten because that is where the war is at. And we've been honest with you for months on this. The Southeastern Conference learned that they're leaving a whole lot of money on the table. The Big Ten learned that they're leaving a whole bunch of money on the table. They're not capturing all that they can, and it's not even close. When they've had these they've had a whole lot of presentations presented to these conferences, and the ACC as well, and the Big 12. And a lot of them are believers in getting expertise in, getting more money, getting an infusion in, and expanding their markets internationally, the Middle East and Europe, and a little bit of South America. But they need the connections, they need the networking, they need to have a strategic partner or partnerships to get this done, just like every other professional league out there and franchises who brought in private equity. But over this course of time, they have learned, boy, we could be doing so much better than we are. The Big Ten, we're going to take the Big Ten first. The Big Ten has always, the Big Ten, if you break, and don't anybody do this, but if you break into the Big Ten Commissioner's office, don't do it. Let's just say if you were a fly on the wall, and if that fly could pull out the drawer, there is a whole lot of plans in how the Big Ten is going to be 10 years from now. And it ain't going to be an 18 university conference. It just isn't. And the Southeastern Conference is not going to be a 16 university conference. It just isn't. If they can maintain themselves, if they can hold themselves together, if they don't fracture and fall apart, which is always a possibility. But one of the aspects to all this is the conference growing in membership. I have not been shy about that. I have not backed away from that. We at Peek Around the Corner, we have talked to so many people. We have talked to so many people, and I'm very fortunate that we can do that. The Big Ten does not believe that they have completely, fully created their conference, even yet today at 18 members. We've heard the comments from athletic directors in public. We've heard the Maryland athletic director. We've heard the Minnesota athletic director. We've heard a lot in private. We know of one interview with an athletic director. We know details of that interview that has not been out in public, that is only in private. And they have gamed this sucker out. Nothing is done. Nothing has been settled, and nothing is imminent yet. As we've been saying every day on this PATC program, even though people report us inaccurately. But it is all gamed out. The Big Ten wants to go into the southeastern part of this country. They want new, huge markets. They want to diversify their student population. They want to improve their demographics even more. And to be a national conference, they got to get in the southeastern part of the country. And they may have to go west again. The Big Ten 12-team playoffs isn't going to work for them. And a 16-team playoffs isn't going to work for them. Now, is this greedy by the Big Ten? Go ahead and call it greedy. If you want to call it self-interest, go ahead and call it self-interest. Do you want to call it maniacal? Do you want to call it Machiavellian? You can call it whatever you want. I am just giving you the peak. The Big Ten is completely convinced that it needs and it wants to expand again. It's always been the plan. It was under Kevin Warren. It is under Tony Petitti. And it's just not internally in the Big Ten. That's what I'm trying to say. It's externally. Experts, all these banks and money, if they say, if you just did this, if you just did that, you'd make more money here, you'd make more money. That is what the Big Ten is listening to, and that's what they want to do. And they don't want to wait around 4 or 5 years. They might have to. I doubt it. I very much doubt it. But they don't want to. A 12-team college football playoff, a 16-team college football playoff doesn't really work for the Big Ten. They don't want to do it. Now, are they thinking altruistic? I don't really think they are. It might be better I think it is better for the Big 12 and the ACC to have a 4-4-4-4-2-6. I think it is better for the Big 12 and the ACC. Of course it is. But it's also better for the Big Ten in what they have planned in the future. What they want to get done in the future. For the Southeastern Conference, it's their self-interest. They don't believe in anybody. They don't trust anybody. They don't. I'm going to give you I'm going to say something here that a lot of you are going to get upset. I'm not talking down to anybody. It's not the Big 12's fault. I'm not saying any of that, Big Lubbock. I don't know. Again, people, you take from this whatever you want to take from it. The Southeastern Conference. The Southeastern Conference, the only reason the Southeastern Conference even pays attention to the Big Ten in any of these matters is because they acknowledge that the Big Ten creates a lot of revenue, has a lot of value, are able to create, they have the markets, whatever. All these reasons, A through Z, the SEC acknowledges the Big Ten. But only because of the Big Ten's value. Not because of the Big Ten's history, not because of the universe, because of the Big Ten's value. The Southeastern Conference, the reason why it is easier for them to split apart from everybody, and they have in this preliminary concept, they're gaming this out, is because they've been talking about this for a long time. They would have less problems splitting away from the Big 12 and the ACC. That is just the reality of it. And for the Southeastern Conference, I really truly believe, yes, they want to expand. Yes, they want to expand their footprint. They want to expand, they want to have a diversity of a student population. They're grabbing a whole bunch of students from the north right now. They want to grab more from the mid-Atlantic. They want the state of North Carolina. They wanted the state of Virginia. They want to go international. They want new markets. They're going to grow their conference. And in doing so, being able to split off, providing enough content to enough population, expanding the conference, splitting off into their own silo, it is all tiered, it is all connected together. To at least have that option, to at least have that possibility. The Southeastern Conference does not believe that this can be governed anymore. So they're about to govern themselves if we can't get our arms around this. The Southeastern Conference is looking to expand plus possible breakaway. The Big Ten is definitely looking at expanding. And they might have to break away, or they will break away if the Southeastern Conference breaks away. So right now, as they're talking with this college football playoff format, there is less incentive for the Southeastern Conference to compromise on anything. Even though there are people in the Southeastern Conference that wants the 20, they would not have any problem with that. But Greg Sankey and the majority in what they're thinking right now, they really have no reason to compromise. And the Big Ten is sitting there going, we've got less reasons to compromise than ever. So it's two ships passing in the night. And here we are on a day before the national championship game. And this is not just a Cold War. This is not just, this war, well, okay, it is a Cold War, but it's about to get hot. These are two huge conferences making more money than ever. They've got schools positioning themselves to join the conference. They've got future media partners, potential media partners. Everybody's gaming this stuff out. We just had an episode 467 of Amazon, NBC, Fox, ESPN. They've all gone down the road of what a super league, an elite super league would look like. We just had a whole bunch of Southeastern Conference leaks, and some of that was out in public, towards Ross Dellinger talking about how they're potentially going to go their own silo. They're putting the pressure on. And Brett Yormark and Phillips are running around, and they're trying to keep the band together. You got a lead singer, you got the lead guitarist trying to break up the band and go their own way and sing their own songs. Well, you've got the drummer and the bass player, the Big 12 and the ACC trying to keep the band together. We got a super chat. Has been. It's a media proxy war. That is a large part of it. ESPN through the SEC wants to maintain control. Fox wants a new chance at an expanded CFP TV deal. Absolutely. That's a large part of it. You go to 24 teams, that's 23 games. Absolutely. The Big Ten broke away from ESPN during Jim Delaney, and that was the very start of this Cold War starting that may turn into a hot war here in a little bit. Thank you for the $5 has been. Thank you for the $5 super chat has been. Absolutely correct. And we've got Ryan Thomas. $2 holla. Greg eating a cheeseburger equals the JFK assassination. I don't know if I would go that far. But I look, that whole cheeseburger thing, again, for those who do not know, I do not eat cheeseburgers. They are an abomination. I'm not going to spend any time on this live show explaining why that is. But a cheeseburger is the worst food in the world. One of the worst foods in the world. I came on this live show. I did a report, and I said it was a fait accompli that the Big Ten and the SEC were both going to end up with 4 auto bids in the next college football playoff alliteration. I said that because I had multiple sources tell me that the SEC and the Big Ten have agreed in their advisory group. So I came out here before it was public, and I said, it's done, guys. It's absolutely done. And I was so sure that it was done, I said, if it doesn't happen, I'm going to eat a cheeseburger. I would take the big L and eat a cheeseburger. I was wrong. The Big Ten was wrong. They thought the deal was done. That was one of the flashpoints of this Cold War that has begun, where both the SEC and the Big Ten now are officially at DEFCON 1. Because, remember, a couple months after this whole thing blew up, Ross Dellinger and others reported that within the advisory group, 13 out of the 16 athletic directors agreed to the 4-4-2-2-1-3. 13 out of 16 of them agreed. But when it went to the Southeastern Conference Media Days in Destin, Florida, the coaches in the Southeastern Conference blew it all up. They blew it all up. It's done. It ain't happening. And the Big Ten thought that they got knifed in the back. And then in the last few months, the Big Ten came out with another proposal, 4-4-4-4-2-6. In the Southeastern Conference, why some of them would not have a problem with it, they're just not going to bite. And one of the reasons why they're not going to bite for that is because they're sitting here going, God dang, man, we got to get away from the Big Ten. We got to get away from the ACC. We got to get away from the Big 12. And now here we are. Stephen McNeely, I'm going to eat a cheeseburger in just a few minutes. Louisville fans aren't watching Penn State versus South Carolina if they have an exclusive league. I don't think we're going to... If this silo thing happens, I don't think we're going to get Penn State versus South Carolina. We may, but I would not put my chips on that. If the South, and we're not there yet, it may not happen. Or it may happen, but it might not be this severe. If the Southeastern Conference goes in their own silo, you may not have the Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten playing each other, touching each other, getting their hands on each other in the football field until the playoffs. if even that. If the Southeastern Conference is going to have their own rules and govern and only trust themselves, they're not going to have a South Carolina versus Penn State. They're going to have a South Carolina. They're going to have a South Carolina versus Alabama. They're going to have a South Carolina versus a potential SEC team in Clemson or Florida State or North Carolina or Virginia, Oklahoma, Texas. Those are the games they're going to have. I just soon as watched Montana State, North Dakota State as a versus the Big Ten SEC game. Ryan Thomas, there won't be any playoffs. Well, I think there will be. I mean, if the Southeastern Conference goes alone, they'll have their own playoffs. At least that. Right? At least that. We're going to open up the phone lines here in just a little bit. Ryan Thomas, college football viewership is based on alumni and community connections. It isn't like the NFL. Fans are not selling their loyalty. Ratings will drop. Badger, born mouth fan. I'm a fan of the Big Ten, but most of the troubles were caused by the Big Ten. John Dry, I'm not watching the game tomorrow night. TNT and Warner Brothers Discovery want the Big 12. COG spins. If they break away, who will financially support the other power two? Sankey has been pushing Super League and relegation for 10 years. Antoine Johnson, the guitarist can't sing. He just thinks he can. Hammer Hennison, breakaways good. Each conference makes its own playoff deal. Winner of each conference could possibly meet in a 4-team super playoff as one possibility. Thank you for the $5 holler. A lot of people DM me with this idea, and I understand the logic behind it. But I'm going to be honest. I think there's a 99.99% chance this never happens. If the Southeastern Conference is going to go alone, they are going to go alone or possibly have their champion play the Big Ten champion in the college football Super Bowl. The Southeastern, but they might just go alone. There is no reason for the Southeastern Conference in a 4-team playoff, they will never, in my strongly held opinion, and everybody that I've talked with, like anybody that I talked with that's in the reporting industry, the Southeastern Conference would never, they're not going to what they would consider lower themselves to that type of format, where they're only assured of one team in a 4-team playoff. It would take away all the reasons why they're going to go it alone. I think there are two. Now, this is just my opinion, but I haven't heard anything contrary to this. If the Southeastern Conference goes in their own silo, there's really only two options. The Southeastern Conference strictly does their own thing. in college football. 12-game regular season. Now, if they do a 12-game regular season, remember, they're going to have to cut one of their home games out their schedule. So they're going to have to make that up and more with media money, because they would do a 6-6. Some people are not going to like that. So, but they would, one option is they would play each other 12 game schedule and then have their playoffs. The other option is 12 game schedule. They play each other, and the winner of the Southeastern Conference plays the winner of the Big Ten. In my strongly held opinion. Hammer Hennison, Super Chat. SEC tired of losing. Thank you for the $2 holler. Hammer Hennison, appreciate ya. Appreciate your generosity, sir. Thank you, Hammer Hennison. Thank you, Hammer Hennison. I appreciate this one as well that I just mentioned. Thank you very much. If the SEC goes in their own silo, the fans outside of the SEC won't watch the SEC anymore. Well, I will. I'll continue to watch all the college football out there. But I understand what you're saying, Antoine Johnson. So the Southeastern Conference might lose some of their ratings. But also they might be able to gain more revenue in some other parts, right? They're not going to have to, and they might see other conferences lose even more traction. It's going to be bad for the sport. I'm absolutely 100% against this, but it's out there. It's at least at the preliminary stages. The SEC dominates the 50 most watched regular season games. Very dedicated fan base. Absolutely true. I don't think ESPN would allow the Big Ten SEC champion. And that might be true. It puts Fox and the Big Ten on equal playing field with ESPN, and the SEC arrogance won't allow it. I think that is more true. I think the chances of that happening where they not play each other is more than the four teams, the four conference champions playing each other in a 4-team playoff if there's a separation. Like I say, I'm trying to be as delicate as possible. The Big Ten, ACC, and Big 12 fans. The Southeastern Conference, they only recognize the Big Ten because of the money it generates. And when it comes to the Big 12 and the ACC, there is not a whole lot of, they do not really look, the Southeastern Conference is not for the automatic qualifiers of us all having 4, all of us having 3. That basically goes against their religion. They don't look at us that way. It's just, and the Big Ten, in the Big Ten, they have their own elite issues. The Big Ten doesn't look at other, they don't look at other, the Big Ten has this elitism, right? They don't want to share, they don't want, one of the reasons they don't want a Super League is because they don't want to be in the same division. They don't want to play conference games against schools that don't have the commonality with their own schools. It's this elitism. Thank you, Architect. Appreciate it. Winning the national championships is what puts the Big Ten on the same level as the SEC. Elliot Howard. Well, Okay, in your mind, in some other people's minds, but the Southeastern Conference does not look at it that way. They don't. They don't. It kind of reminds me of the Big Ten. Look, the Southeastern Conference has added the University of Texas, Texas A&M, Missouri. Southeastern Conference has got some major research universities, some really good academic universities, but the Big Ten doesn't look at the Southeastern Conference as the same to them. You know, these are two separate worlds, and they've always have been. And they've gained more of the market share. And now they got other outside forces telling them you're worth more than what you're getting. And this is the pathway to get a whole lot more. And both those conferences are on their way to. That's why I've been so hard on the idea that the 70-team Super League even had a chance of happening. It doesn't. And, I mean, look at it. Look. There is more of a chance that somehow, some way, the Big Ten Michigan won't even sign the extension of the grant of rights from 36 to 46. Because it might be something even better happening. So we are, it's fracturing all over the place. There are cracks everywhere. And that's part of it. That's probably a minor part of it, but it is a part of it. Rod, summarizing, the Big Ten wants to expand the 2014 playoff because then Fox, NBC, and CBS would have some playoff games, as ESPN and ABC wouldn't have enough time space to cover all those games. That's part of it. But the Big Ten wants to grow bigger as a conference, or that has been their plan. And you don't want a 12-team playoff if you are a 20-team conference. You don't want a 16-team playoff if you are a 24-team conference. Helmer Hennison, thank you for the super chat. Now, I don't, Stephen McNeely, Greg, you mean like when the people were telling the old Pac-12 that they were worth a whole lot more, turned out they weren't? I don't know who was telling the Pac-12 they were worth a whole lot. I don't think anybody was telling them that. I think people inside the Pac-12 absolutely screwed up on that. I think there was a lot of falsehoods being told from the commissioner's office to the Pac-12 presidents. In real time, I was reporting month after month after month, it is brutal out there for the Pac-12. They're not getting any deals. They were not even getting any deals that they could show their presidents. And that's why early on I said, and I think it was February 24th, I got that date in my mind, when I first said Big 12 is the favorite, the chalk to be able to poach the Pac-12. February of 2023. February 24th, I believe. Because the news, it was brutal for the Pac-12. But Kleikoff wasn't playing. I don't think the information, unfortunately, there was a lot of cloak and dagger, a lot of dagger in the Pac-12. And then you had some internet people out there, the guy from, I forget the guy's name, saying how the Pac-12 would never be poached by the Big 12. The Pac-12 is going to get a better... I mean, the Pac-12 got a lot of bad information, but the networks were telling the Pac-12, you ain't worth that much. You're not worth what you think you should be getting. Helmer Henderson, Super Chat. Breakaway might take some of the insanity out of the sport, be less stressful to school budgets. Ooh, I don't know about that. Thank you for the $5 holler, Helmer Henderson. I don't know about that. I don't know. I think I'm not sure about that. Yeah, some economic professors gave the Pac-12 some bad information. I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, you are correct, Stephen McNeely. You are correct. Okay. Let's see if I'm all caught up here. Okay, let's get to your phone calls. 763-260-1333. Again, Super Chats will supersede any calls, any other comments. But the phone calls coming on in, the floor will be yours. You can talk about the championship game tomorrow night, Indiana and Miami. We're going to be doing a watch party. A watch party, PATC watch party. So buckle up, brace for impact. Let's go.
From
Rick?
Rick, the floor is yours.
Hey, how we doing?
We're doing okay. We're getting ready for tomorrow night. We're at DEFCON 1 all over the place here in college football. Thanks for calling, Rick.
You got a watch party tomorrow night, yeah?
I do. Yep, absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely.
Good. I'm going to put you in Greg Sankey's shoes for just a minute.
Got it.
Tell me why continuing the 12-team playoff is better than you're accepting 4-4-2-2-1-3.
For the SEC?
You're Greg Sankey. You're the SEC.
Why is the 12-team better? Okay, you know what? I'm glad you asked that question. Because I asked that question. And the answer came back to me was a little startling, and I didn't even want to talk about it on this live show because I wanted to poke and prod a little bit more on the answer. But since Rick, legendary PATC member, called and asked this question, I'm going to give you the answer that was given to me, Rick. The answer that was given to me is the 12-team playoff, as it is written now, there is a plausible exit hatch for the Southeastern Conference to go their own way, to go silo, and that it would be more difficult to go their own way if they sign on to a new deal with a 16 or 24 or some sort of compromise. The SEC has in their sights a possible silo breakaway before the end of this current media contract with this playoffs. Don't ask me how they would break it, but that's the answer I was given when I asked the same question.
Wow.
Yeah, but I did want to talk about it here.
Wow.
Because
wow.
I don't have any other information on that.
But it makes sense.
Well, it does and it doesn't. I mean, how could they possibly break that? What is their argument? I don't have any of those answers.
No, I think it makes sense. That's the reason they don't want to do it, and they want to stay at 12.
Yes, that would be the most. Yeah, if they honestly believe that, that's why 12 is better than, 12. Yeah. 12 maybe is what they're insisting on internally, right? To stay where they are because they want this other option.
Well, how many planes do we have in the air that need to land by Friday. Because that gas is getting real low.
Well, they're going to land safely, or they're going to crash. But they're going to hit the ground either way.
They're going to land.
Yeah.
How many planes?
Well, the college football playoff format is one plane. The Score Act is another plane, right?
Yep.
The 9 conference games, that plane landed. Those are the 2 big ones, right?
I think so. So.
Yeah.
Oh, no scheduling. Yeah, the scheduling agreement's dead. Yeah. And you can make a case for Score having already crashed, but maybe not. Maybe it's just called Mayday and hasn't crashed. I mean, what do you know that changes the position of anything regarding Score except midterms in November?
Yeah, I think the Southeastern Conference is convinced that that plane is going to crash. So that's why they're either at preliminary stages or beyond preliminary stages of their silo. Because that's going to be a great fuel for them, incentive for them to do it. My optimism has gone away because now we're at that midterm election year. We're in trouble, Rick, on all of that. So here we are. That plane's going to crash. The college football playoff format, if it stays at 12, I consider that crashing as well.
I do too.
So we could have 2 planes crashing, and the casualties is going to be a lot.
Last question, and I'll let you go.
Yeah.
Does the Big Ten, and I'm not referring specifically to Tony Petitti, because he's merely a mouthpiece for the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Does the Big Ten not want to have, quote, blood on their hands, close quote, for being the first conference to go in the silo?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I would presume, and this is just speculation, that the Southeastern Conference is further along on that track. Because, the Big Ten, they're more than, of course, they're willing to go to a college football playoff format of 24, 4-4-4, 4-2-6. They're willing to expand their conference going to that route, right? They don't think that hurts them. It's in their self-interest. It just so happens that it might help out the Big 12 and the ACC as well. But the Big Ten's willing to go down that pathway. Southeastern Conference is not willing to go down that pathway. Their expansion is going to be a different pathway. So I don't know about the blood on the hands things. I just think that Southeastern Conference is probably further along on that track.
Well, yeah, I use that term to the way they didn't want blood on their hands breaking up the Pac-12. They wanted the
they needed help on that.
Big 12 to make the first move. Lawyers wouldn't let.
I do not think, truthfully, I really, really do not think that there is any coordination going on between these 2 conferences. There is no bad cop, good cop stuff going on. It is strictly realpolitik. Both of these are hitting heads. I don't think I don't think they both have a plan to break away, and one's doing it this way, one's doing it that way, and they're intentionally not compromising. I just think these 2 guys, these 2 conferences are further apart than they've ever been.
But there doesn't seem to be any concern from Sankey and the SEC about the stigma that's
No.
going to be placed on the SEC for doing this, for breaking the line.
Yeah, there's
They're not concerned at all.
Yeah, in fact, Ross Dillinger, in one of his articles, he had a source tell him that the Southeastern Conference knows there'll be some sort of PR mess, a little bit of political mess, but they would rather take that on versus having more of all this governance issues in the years ahead. So
I think they're on their way.
yeah. I think they've chosen their poison. So
I think so.
Yeah.
They're they're on the Rubicon, and they're closer to the other shore than they are the one they started out at.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Appreciate it. Great call, sir. Rick asked me a question that I was hoping maybe he would not ask me tonight, but he asked me.
From
Larry Andrick.
Larry Andrick, Mr. Mountaineer, is on the line. The floor is yours, sir. Thank you for calling.
Yeah, I got a question for you, or maybe it's a prophecy.
Got it.
But I was thinking the last few days, why would the SEC or the Big Ten want to give 4 automatic qualifiers to either the ACC or the Big 12 when in a year or two they don't expect one of those conferences to even be viable? If they take their cut out of the ACC or Big 12 and the Big 10 does the same thing, one of those two conferences are going to exist to be viable when the other conference takes the rest of the two teams or their teams out of it. There's not going to be enough teams left to be a Power 4 conference. You may have 1 or 2, 3, 4 teams that are what would be considered lower level Power 4, and then you're going to get a bunch of P5 schools joining the ACC to make up the next group of clubs, and they're not going to be considered a P4 school anymore. So whatever conference is left, you're going to have 2 P2s and 1 P, I would call it a P2.5, and then you're going to have the rest of them are P5 or P6 or whatever you want to call them. What do you think?
Well, that's a great comment, and a lot of people have brought that up in the past. Why would the Big Ten be for 4-4-4-4-2-6 if they're going to be poaching the ACC and maybe a Big 12 school? And why would you be willing to give the Big 12 and the ACC 4 automatic qualifiers each? Number one, there is. And it's even been discussed in this last article by Ross Dillinger. The 2014 playoff, one of the options is the 4-4-4-4-2-6. But there are other 24 teams options that they've been batting around left and right. Number two is in the 4-4-4-4-2-6, maybe there would be a look in if one conference, if there was a big material change affecting one conference, maybe they would have to drop maybe they would only get 3 automatic qualifiers or 2 automatic qualifiers, and those automatic qualifiers would go to the other conferences. That's a potential of that. But I think the reality is the Big Ten wants to go to 24 teams, and they're not really worried about the 12 auto bids that the other 3 Power 4 conferences would get. The Big Ten wants to expand their conference for a lot of reasons outside of the college football playoffs, but to sell the idea, to get the idea into the end zone, they're going to need a much larger college football playoff format to get the teams, the universities on board to allow the conference to expand. So it's an avenue it's a pathway for Big Ten expansion, but they got to enlarge the college football playoff format. And if that means that there are some schools in the Big 12 and the ACC, two conferences that might be diminished because of further poaching from the SEC and the Big Ten would still take that deal because they're better in their conference even more with an expanded conference in the years ahead. But you do bring up a comment, Larry Andrick, that is a very, very good comment. A lot of common sense on that. Other than that, I really don't have an answer for you.
Yeah, because I really believe by the end of the 27, I think we're going to end up with 3 leagues with 24 teams, and approximately, and that's about it. And I don't know if the third league even is going to be powerful enough to demand enough money to stay viable in this accelerated money for play football way it's going. And I don't like it, but there's nothing I can do about it, or you or anybody else. It's just that we have to watch and see how it plays out.
Yeah.
But I just wish we could. There's a wish and that's never going to happen. But I told you about 2 years ago. I honestly think the only way that college football is ever going to be regulated again is something I really hate and the thought of. But if its government doesn't step in and do something about regulating some of this college football, it's never going to be a college football game again. It's going to be one for all and all for one, or none for all. Yep. That's about the way it's going to be.
And if
Larry, I don't even think
And if the economic of consolidation, if it even ramps up even more, who knows? Who knows, Larry? 2 years from now, as we're doing this live show, I might be asking you, Larry, to write a letter to the University of West Virginia University, and ask for them to see if they can get my beloved Minnesota Golden Gophers into the Big 12, right? That's the next, consolidation, the next whatever. Who knows? That might even happen. So I got to treat Larry very nicely here because he might be the key to get my Gophers in the Big 12.
Well, I doubt if that's ever going to happen, but
who knows?
Very seriously, but I think college football is college football. If I wanted to watch pro, I watch on Sundays. Yeah. I don't watch on Saturdays, and Saturday football is my day to watch football.
That's right.
And if it gets to the same day that Sunday football is, I'll just quit watching it, man. And that's a shame because. Or I'll watch West Virginia play Citadel or BMI or whoever they play, and I don't care. That's the only game that I'll watch because it's not football when you have money dictating who you play, when you play, and how you play. It's just not right.
Yeah. You got it, Larry. A lot of people agree with you, sir. You are the voice of the common man and the common woman, Larry.
I try to be. I'm not very educated and all that, but I try to be keep forthright with my decisions as I can be.
You got it.
And I really appreciate your show.
Thank you, sir.
I think you're one of the best I've ever watched. In fact, you're about the only one I watch daily, no matter what.
Larry,
thank you, and I'll talk to you again soon.
You got it, buddy. Thank you for the kind words, sir. Thank you very much, Larry.
Bye-bye.
Beautiful. If if you are new to the channel, or if you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell, share the video, smash the like button.
From
Ryan Thomas.
Ryan Thomas, the floor is yours. Except Ryan Thomas, I'm sorry. Can you hold on for just 1 second, please?
Go ahead, Greg.
I apologize. What is going on here? Hold on.
You got some
Hold
super
on.
chats to read, so
Hold on. Something is going on here. We've got ourselves a very kind super chat from K Struthers 3860. To the SEC, go to 24 or bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you for the $2 holler, Struthers. K Struthers, I very much appreciate it. Felicia, bye Felicia, bye SEC 24 or see you later. Ryan Thomas, the floor is yours. Thank you for your patience.
yeah, I want to go back because a couple days ago on one of your shows you covered something regarding. It's interesting because I looked into it, but Sankey has been pushing Super League relegation for 10 years. His very first presentation, and it was actually in one of those articles that you shared about the SEC break-off by FAM or whatnot. I mean, Sankey's been pushing this stuff forever. And, in his mind, he sees the ACC and the Big 12 as minor leagues that maybe he hopes, and ESPN probably shares that view, that they can, poach talent and coaches from. And, that's just the view that Sankey has. So who knows what ESPN will do, but I've said this a million times on your show, and I'm glad that, you acknowledge it today as well. But, I mean, even though the Big Ten is objectively much stronger than the SEC playoff-wise and, championship-wise, the SEC in its arrogance will never concede that, nor will ESPN. Like I said, ESPN and Fox do not view anyone as an equal to them. I mean, ESPN and the SEC don't view Fox and the Big Ten as equals. They view them as nuisances they have to tolerate. And I think that the reality, if there is a breakaway by the SEC, they're not going to play anyone. I mean, they will not play anybody. Maybe they play who, if ESPN might have them play, basically, make the Big 12 and ACC scrub games for them. But that's sort of where I think Sankey's trying to go. And I don't know ultimately what happens, but I will say I think the biggest problem the SEC has, like I said, the biggest problem the Big Ten has is elitism. The biggest problem the SEC has is arrogance. Like the famous phrase, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. I think that I think whatever they're looking at and whatever outside consultants, remember, there are outside consultants like Tony Altomore who are complete morons, that publish data all the time, and they might have echo chamber advisors too that are pushing for things. But I can tell you, like many people have pointed out here, and I know you will, but honestly, my time's limited on the weekends. And if I'm going to go to, if college football is going to be turned into essentially a professional league, I'm going to watch the Major League NFL on Sunday instead of the minors on Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm not going to waste up time on that. I just won't.
Yeah.
And, and many people will watch the SEC outside of the SEC country because of playoff implications and things like that and rankings and all that. But if that goes away, they will lose They will lose ratings. They'll lose viewership. And I also think, given that another rant for another time, but I always sort of had the feeling that the House settlement and the SCORE Act were going to be undermined by wealthy boosters, but more so by the agent class of players out there who want this very much to be an MLB type model. They make far more money off of that. And, I sort of always knew that that was going to come down. You're not going to get much support because, big labor is going to want an interest in this. And unfortunately, that's what's driving the silos. And this country is so dysfunctional that I don't think that legislation is going to happen. And if the playoffs don't happen, I would not be surprised to see the SEC move quickly after Friday on trying to acquire North Carolina.
Yeah,
I think that will come down.
I haven't heard that, but
But if there's no if there's no reason to be nice anymore, Greg.
Well, yes, the SCORE Act. They might want to get confirmation that the SCORE Act definitely can't get off the mat.
Yeah, but I think that's dead.
Yeah,
and they probably know that.
Yeah,
and they have no incentive to leak it right now because they're trying to still get something by Friday. But don't be surprised if they start to move quickly. And as far as Virginia goes, with Spamberger, what I know is she's trying to bank to get the Big Ten to take Virginia Tech and UVA together.
Well, that's
if I were her, I would. If I were her, I wouldn't hold my breath.
Yeah.
Because that's not going to happen. Because I think I know, and you have sources that say the Big Ten wants to go to 24, but there is no way the Big Ten goes to 24 without Notre Dame, Greg. There's no way. The money is not there. Fox, NBC, and CBS are already paying a premium for that product. Mm-hmm. And if Oregon and Washington did not warrant full shares from the media companies, I don't see. And there's a specific provision with the media contract partners for the Big Ten that they'll pay pro rata for 3 additional teams if Notre Dame joins. So without Notre Dame, the Big Ten is not going to 24.
No.
I don't see it working financially. It just won't. And at some point, to bring the others in, they'll be making less or equivalent money to what they're making in either the ACC or the Big 12, and they'll have huge exit fees to pay.
I agree 100%. I don't think there's any way that the Big Ten goes with 24 without Notre Dame. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the money won't work.
Yeah.
I could see them going to 20 with maybe adding like a Miami and a Georgia Tech because of the tremendous markets that are involved there.
Yeah.
That and having them agree to some sort of Rutgers, Maryland type deal. Miami will certainly pay its exit fees, and I think Georgia Tech would probably gladly jump on that too. So and with that said, I think that, and I've said this a billion times on the show, I don't think the SEC wants the Big Ten to have Notre Dame under any circumstance. And I don't think ESPN wants that either. So, they'll do what they can to keep Notre Dame independent. Yes, the walls may be closing, but don't underestimate the SEC. Sankey is not a good faith actor. And neither is Bavacqua. And I think that ultimately, it remains to be seen what happens there. But, I think they're going to do what they can to somehow make something work for Notre Dame. Because in their mind, the Big Ten already has a media revenue advantage on the SEC. And adding Notre Dame will only increase that advantage tremendously. And if you have Big Ten schools in the Southeast, that's going to start impacting recruiting and reputation in the Southeast Conference. And they know that. Greg Sankey knows that if the Big Ten is able to get Notre Dame and go to 24 and expand into the Southeast and be a national conference, that the SEC, despite what all SEC fans think, at least from a monetary valuation standpoint, the SEC will be a inferior conference to the Big Ten. They know that, and they're not going to allow that. And I think that that's something to keep an eye on, and I think that they'll move quickly to nab North Carolina. And I will say this, Spanberger may be playing that Virginia Tech UVA game, but what if the SEC adds UVA and Duke, two schools that have been tight with UVA for over almost 200 years, Greg? Mm-hmm. I don't think that they're going to, the option of either being stuck in the ACC, which could be completely gutted, or having Virginia Tech and Virginia stuck in the Big 12. I think real quick, when they have to weigh uncertainty versus a sure thing with an SEC invite, I think UVA will make that move very quickly, especially if Duke and Carolina are part of that combination. So I think that's kind of a nothing burger for Spanberger. I think that they can hope that, but like, the great show based on Minnesota, Grumpy Old Men, as the great late Burgess Meredith said, you can, wish in one hand and crap in the other and see what comes true first. Mm-hmm. And that's my message to Spanberger, because I don't think, I don't think that's happening. Okay. And, hopefully, ultimately, this kind of doesn't break into silos, because it's bad for the sport as a whole. It's bad for this show. It's bad for this community. Yeah. So hopefully smarter heads prevail. But that's all I got, Greg. Great show. Take care. Have a good night, my friend.
You got it. Appreciate it, buddy. Beautiful call. Ryan Thomas.
From
Fred.
Fred, can you hold on for just one moment, please?
Yes.
I do appreciate it. I got a little bit behind here. K Struthers 38605 gifted memberships. The Canes fan 1993. Buffalo FF1 Buffs. Kaufman, Travis, and Kevin were all gifted a membership by the very generous K Struthers. All of you are knighted officially. Cloak and Dagger, welcome to the family. That means you can go to our library of episodes and watch all the episodes, including early P Cloak and Dagger episodes from members only. We did put out an episode 468 earlier today, so go check it out. That is an episode for anybody to watch. You don't have to be a member. Episode 468. Go check it out. We dropped it earlier this morning. Thank you, K Struthers, for your generosity. I appreciate it very much. Before we get to Fred, a caller here, a couple things I want to say. Kalani's making some really good comments in the comment section. One of the things is, people often make a comment about how people in the Mid-Atlantic don't really give a flip about college football. Look at the ratings. But what the Big Ten and what the Southeastern Conference wants is a better shot at those students in North Carolina and Virginia. That is what they're looking at. It's more of that type of thinking. And a larger footprint, but a more diverse student population. And one more thing about Ryan Thomas saying how the Southeastern Conference does not want Notre Dame to go to the Big Ten. I agree. The Southeastern Conference has been a big protector of Notre Dame to be able to allow them to keep on with their quasi-football independent status. However, nothing would provide more fuel to the walls closing in on Notre Dame's quasi-football independence than the Southeastern Conference going in their own silo. The Big Ten would probably follow suit, and now Notre Dame has a huge decision to make one that would be very difficult for them to keep their football independent status alive. Fred, thank you for your patience. I appreciate it. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Greg. I was wondering if the Big Ten wanted to go into their own silo, would we have to get Michigan's permission?
Boy, I don't know how that would work.
I guess that sarcasm is really points at a serious question we might not have any answer to yet.
Yeah.
The process in terms of there's a grant of rights up to a certain year. Before that year, can we go our separate way and some not want to go?
Boy, that's a great question. What is the process of deciding to go your own way? Do you need every school on board? Now, look, the Michigan of old, the Michigan of the 2010s, the 2000s, the 1990s, the 1980s, the 1970s, that University of Michigan, they would be the first one on board with the Big Ten going alone. They'd be the first one in line saying, yes, yes, Commissioner, yes, all the other presidents, let's do this. The Michigan of today, I have no idea. Great question.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I guess I was just thinking, the devil's in the details, and if we ever move that far down that road and have the details, there may be a detail or two that Michigan or some other school would hold out on, saying that's not a good thing for the teams, for the schools.
That is a great comment. And now I'm thinking about the Southeastern Conference. Are they truly all on board on this? They're doing the preliminary work around. They're war gaming this out. Are they all on board with this? I would say they're probably more united on these type of tough issues than the Big Ten is, because they're a regional conference. The Big Ten is national, and who knows what people are thinking across the country. That is a great question, sir.
It's still a good question for the SEC, because a team now like LSU and Lane Kiffin's process of how he gets his teams ahead. If they solve these governance issues, he's not going to have as many tools to do what he likes to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that is an outstanding question. And you know what? We're probably going to hear more of that. What is the process of all that?
Right.
Yeah, that is a great comment, sir. And of course, I don't have an answer.
Right. It's too soon for anybody except maybe in the inner workings of the league to know what that would look like. I guess my feeling is that, I didn't want them to break away, but if that's the only way to solve these governance problems that don't seem to be able to be solved by anything we try to do, then, maybe it's the best of two lesser choices. I don't know. We don't seem to be able to figure out the governance issue no matter what we do. So I don't want us to keep running into that long term.
Yeah, it is frustrating, no question about it.
It's so far from the football we used to love, but we're still willing to put up with it. But at some point, everything we try, they say, no, you can't do it.
Yeah.
It's just going to crash and burn at some point. So
I mean the ratings are up, the popularity of the college football that we're watching, and all that is good. The bowl ratings, and it's all good, except you feel this like pressure where it could all collapse, because if we can't govern this thing, people are potentially going to start walking away. So,
right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's just my thought.
Yeah.
Anyways, Greg, you take care. Have a great week.
You got it. Appreciate it, buddy.
Take care.
Again, if you're new to the channel or you haven't done it yet, please subscribe, ring that notification bell. We can come on live at any time. in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, at midnight. We've done it all before. We're going to do it all again. Make sure you subscribe, smash the like button, ring the notification bell, share the video. I appreciate you all coming on in today. PNW Ute, OPD Don, Has-Been, Ryan Thomas, Hummer Hennison, Kay Struthers, thank you so much for your donations, your generosity to help us keep the lights on and grow the channel. The fantastic phone calls, unbelievable phone calls, great comments in the comments section. DEFCON 1, DEFCON 1. Now, we've been at DEFCON 1 in the Big Ten for a while. We reported it. SEC now at DEFCON 1. It is obvious. Two big ships passing in the night, both looking at their self-interest, but they're both choosing a different path, it looks like. College football playoff compromise. We've only got a few days left. It's got to be all done Friday, January 23rd. If we do not get a compromise, we're going to stick to the 12-team playoffs. And if we're going to stick to the 12-team playoff, well, buckle up and brace for impact. We'll talk about more of that later this week. But tomorrow night is a national championship game. The Miami Hurricanes versus the Indiana Hoosiers. We're going to be doing a watch party on that game. Watch party right here. Go check us out. If you've never been with us during a watch party, we're all watching the game at our homes on our own devices. We put the comments in the comments section below the video in real time. I've got a very technical scoreboard up here while we're watching the game. We keep score with a chalkboard and a piece of chalk. It's a lot of fun. Greg the Gold, I've got Indiana minus 8.5. UPATC Einsteins, I've got Indiana minus 9.5. My record against the spread is 92-93. The PATC Einstein's record against the spread is 92-93. If Indiana covers, we both finish the season 93-93. That's not much to brag about. I mean, you can flip a quarter and go 93-93. But we got to win tomorrow night. So Miami, Indiana, come watch us. Join us. It's a lot of fun. Until next time, from all of us at College Football's Peek Around the Corner, to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. And as always, God, family, Golden Gophers,